Pronto? Ciao Poppy! Adesso vi passo Chiara!
We're going on a tour around the world. It'll take a bit of time because the world's quite big.
È una conferenza telefonica.
It's a conference call where I give a strong spiritual thought that we can live together. When we call the zones and they answer, hello, how are you? So it's the life of a family. It's wonderful.
Meraviglia. Avevo per scopo di
Its aim is to help us go on a holy journey, a journey towards holiness.
E siamo in diretta, eccoci qui.
And here we are. Hello everyone and welcome to this new link up. We're online.
Allora,
So we are in Rocca di Papa, near Rome, at the headquarters of the International Center of the Focolare, from where my personal greeting and that of this hall reaches you. A huge applause to all of you. But I say reaches you because we know that there are so many of you connected from all 5 continents, and this makes us very happy. And in a short while, we will be coming directly to you right there around the world. As you can see, this is going to be characterized by many of the journeys we've taken, more than the usual, but not to worry, we'll get there. We cannot, however, start without a thought for Pope Francis, who, as we all know, has been hospitalized at the Gemelli University Hospital in Rome for a month now, so it's getting better. But what is a better moment than this one to send him a greeting, an embrace from us all, and we continue to pray for his full recovery. Then we remember the communities in the world who in this moment are suffering because of natural disasters. Yes. We especially remember the community of Bahia Blanca in Argentina that has been struck by flooding, and some members of the Focolare movement have been directly affected. We heard that a network of solidarity though has been formed which supports and encourages everyone. So we also send them a greeting and an embrace. Well, I am Paolo, I'm Italian, I'm a journalist, and we will begin with a journey. An immediate, very quick, but concentrated one right now, with some readings from around the world. It's your greeting from the 2 parts of the world. So the first link-up will be with the Mariapolis El Diamante, the little town of the movement in Mexico. Are you there? Hugo and Brenda, are you there?
Ugo e Brenda? Eccoli.
Here they are.
Ciao.
Ciao. Hello.
Ciao.
I'm Hugo.
I'm Brenda.
We are so happy to greet you from the Mariapolis El Diamante in Mexico.
Our Mariapolis is a place of life, a place for communion and formation. It was born in 1990 to be a witness of a society that is striving to live fraternity.
It is made up of a few dozen people of different nationalities, a community committed to living reciprocity, which listens to the social challenges and generates spaces for dialogue, coexistence, and integral human formation.
And from here, we want to share with you a recent initiative that reflects the spirit. On Saturday, the 22nd of February, we had a concert for peace at the Municipal Theatre in Acatzingo in collaboration with Living Peace International. The concert was the fruit of the Peace Day we had at the Mariapolis last October and is part of an ongoing initiative.
It was an event full of art and commitment, where music and dance, with the participation of artists and local communities, became a bridge of unity and hope for many people.
Thank you all. Let us continue to build a more united world together.
Thank you. A big hug from Mexico. See you soon.
Grazie a tutta la comunità del
Thank you.
Messico.
Thanks to all the Mexican community. A big hug for all you are doing, and we are right there with you. Thank you.
Cambiamo continente
Let us
adesso.
change continent
Andiamo
now,
in
and
un
we'll go
paese,
to a
la
country,
Turchia,
Turkey,
ponte
that
tra
is a
Asia e
bridge
Europa.
between
La città
Asia and
è
Europe.
Iskenderun, al
The
confine
city is
con la Siria, ci
Iskenderun,
dovrebbero essere
on the
Mario
border
e
with
Burkina.
Syria.
Ci
And there should be
sentite?
Burcin and Mario. Are you
Eccoli.
there?
Ciao.
Here they are. Ciao.
Ciao a tutti voi.
Hello to you all.
The 2023 earthquake, besides causing enormous destruction and claiming many lives, severely tested the population of Iskenderun. The arrival of the men's and women's Focolares has contributed to the path of recovery despite the difficulties that still exist. The momentum is growing. The premises of the vicariate are being reorganized for the various activities that are coming back to life. Weekly meetings for women, for children, for young people, guitar lessons, Christian formation for adults, and other activities.
We have joined an ecumenical dialogue of the people and have continued the dialogue with the leaders of the various churches. There is also a good personal relationship with our Sunni and Alevi Muslim brothers and sisters. We regularly visit small communities in our cities in the south and southeast of the vicariate, and these are beautiful and strong moments of formation of fellowship. The trust and support of His Excellency Bishop Antoine Ilgit, Apostolic Administrator of the Apostolic Vicariate of Anatolia, who requested that we come here, is fundamental. This land is beautiful and fertile, also because of the roots of the life of the first Christians, and here we are called to joyfully offer our contribution to be the fulfillment of Jesus' dream, that all might be one.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Grazie a tutta la
Thanks to the
comunità
whole community
della
in
Turchia. Siamo con voi
Turkey,
in questo cammino
and
di
we
ripresa
with you
dopo il
with
terremoto.
this
Forza,
journey
grazie.
after the earthquake. We with you building it all again. Bye bye.
E adesso ci spostiamo.
And now
Spostiamo
we move
nell'estremo
to
nord
the far
dell'Europa,
north of
andiamo
Europe,
ad
to Oslo,
in
Norway.
Norvegia. Ci siete?
Are you there?
Dovrebbero esserci Anita
We should
e
have Anita
Elena.
and Eileen.
Eccole.
Here they are.
Ciao a tutti voi.
Hello to you all. We are here in the world's northernmost Focolare in Oslo, the capital city of Norway. In our community, we come from various Christian churches.
With a group, we are participating in the International Ecumenical Conference in Castel Norfo from the 26th to the 29th of March. The title is Call to Hope. About 250 people will come together from around 40 nations and 20 different Christian churches. 4 continents will be represented, from the Philippines to Peru, from Scandinavia to South Africa, from Congo to Venezuela, with lay people, bishops, priests, and ministers. It will also be possible to follow the event online via streaming on the focolare.org YouTube channel.
My name is Anita, and I come from the Swedish Lutheran Church here in Norway. I am involved in a forum for religious dialogue with 40 communities of different faiths and convictions. I'm happy to participate in the ecumenical conference so that I can grow in hope and fellowship.
My name is Elin, and I belong to the Norwegian Evangelical Lutheran Church. We are called to unity in Christ. He is our hope in this special period of time in which we are living. Here in Oslo, we meet in fellowship with Christ in spite of our diversity of Christian denominations. I look forward to attending the conference in Rome and meeting people who together will lift up Christ as the hope for the world.
Ciao, ciao a tutti voi e grazie.
Thank you to all of you. We too can't wait meeting with you for the ecumenical meeting, and all the best for the preparation as well. Thank you to all of you. From this first round of greetings, we see how universal fraternity is becoming a reality. Who knows what Chiara Lubich would say today, I was wondering. She who gave so much care to the moment of the link-up, precisely because it was an opportunity to see this unity become tangible throughout the whole world. Just yesterday, the 14th of March, was the anniversary of her death. 17 years have passed since 2008. In addition to the celebrations of Mass in each community with civil and religious authorities, there were various events all over the world. We cannot mention them all, but we'll tell you just at least a few. In Gaiman, a Welsh community in the Argentinian Patagonia, they held a meeting of dialogue and sharing between various Christian churches. We've seen some pictures right now. Then in Tokyo, Japan, and Cairo, Egypt, there were 2 events dedicated to Chiara Lubich with various testimonies. Then, here in Italy, in Corato, precisely tomorrow, the 16th of March, the young people of the movement will present Da Quel Sì, From That Yes, an artistic story inspired by the life of Chiara Lubich and the ideal of unity. Then, in Gaeta, also here in Italy, a pillar dedicated to Chiara Lubich, woman of dialogue, was unveiled today in the city that declared her an honorary citizen in 2022. In addition to the Mayor Christian Lucchese and Archbishop Luigi Vari, some members of the International Focolare Center and the local community attended, as you can see from the photos. And then Rome, City of the Jubilee 2025. Just yesterday, a multimedia exhibition dedicated to Chiara's entitled Looking at the City of Rome was inaugurated. And Lorenzo Russo and Carlos Diaz from the Link-Up team were there yesterday. And so, let's have a look how it happened just yesterday.
If I look at this city of Rome, precisely here in the heart of Rome at the Focolare meeting point, a multimedia exhibition has been inaugurated in honor of Chiara Lubich, the founders of the Focolare movement. The exhibition is open to visitors until the 31st of January 2026. It's a special occasion for all the pilgrims who will be traveling to Rome during this Jubilee year. During the inauguration, there were talks by Margaret Karam, president of the Focolare movement, and Jesus Moran, the co-president. Cardinal Mario Grech, the General Secretary of the Synod, His Eminence Cardinal Baldassare Reina, the Pope's Vicar for the Diocese of Rome, and several representatives of the political and religious world were also present, as well as many friends of the Focolare. Among the guest speakers, there were also Giuseppe Ferrandi, the director of the Historical Museum Foundation of Trentino.
In continuation with the collaboration started during the 100th anniversary of the birth of Chiara, with an extensive exhibition in Trent, today we are following a specific subject, looking at the city of Rome, which will complete the process we started in 2020. It's definitely a message of hope, and so it links to the Jubilee and to the idea of being pilgrims at this time of your life. Chiara offers many insights. Some are linked to the renewal of the words we use, of our language. So, an exhibition of this kind will give some ideas on how to live this moment, which is so difficult, maybe thinking of a language of the future and not only of a language of the past. So, you've seen that in Rome there's another opportunity to do this. Today too, let's go on a journey to discover the meaning of closeness, which could summarize as an attitude of the heart in meeting the other person. So, the next experiences want to tell us just that. The first one comes from close by, from Pescara in central Italy, and then the testimonies of two children of the movement, the Gen 4, from Burundi and from El Salvador. Children who once again teach us the depth of simple things. Yes, they're very beautiful indeed, you'll see. Now, let's watch this.
Ciao, ben arrivati nel Focolare di Pescara.
Hello, welcome to the Focolare of Pescara. Come on in.
Nella nostra quotidiana vita.
In our everyday life, in short, in our commitments, we have various contacts here, in the neighbourhood, in the parish, and many other people. Among these we met Danilo, who before the summer told us that he was going to have an operation, and that during his recuperation he would need someone to look after him.
Era necessario qualcuno che lo accudisse. Parlandone tra di noi ci è venuto in mente.
Talking among ourselves, it occurred to us that any one of us could be available, or we could propose that he could come here to the Focolare in a guest room and live with us, so that we could all look after him and take care of him. And so it was. In September, when he had his operation, one of us accompanied him, then brought him back here, and we spent almost 2 weeks together, and he shared the everyday life that we have here.
The most interesting experience was that when Danilo arrived, a spontaneous relationship was immediately created, as if he'd been with us for a long time. And then there were some days, for example, when it was quite cold and Danilo needed some extra clothing. So rather than thinking of him going home or accompanying him, it immediately came to me to say, look, we could lend you some clothes. It seemed like a normal thing to do.
So, I'm Danilo. I'm the one who is hosted by this fabulous group of the Focolare. They open their doors in every sense of the word, and not just the door of the house, of the room, but above all the door of their hearts, because I was welcomed in an exceptional way that I hadn't even expected. And that special fraternal atmosphere was created that surprised, let's say, everyone. Although in my opinion, when there's true love or true fraternity, there's nothing to be surprised about.
To be close to others is to try to see what the other person needs. One day, I was at school and I saw a boy who lives far away. He had come without anything to eat. I gave him a sweet so that he too would have some energy.
Hi, I am Roberto from El Salvador, and I want to tell you about my experience. In March of last year, I was diagnosed with a rare disease that only affects 1 in 1,000 people. I was admitted to hospital, and at first, I was very afraid of everything because I had never been hospitalized. At the hospital, I met several children who became my friends, and I shared with them things I had received. I felt like I was living the parable of the Good Samaritan. Today, I am still recovering, but I am confident. I believe that I will recover and be able to help other children.
Gracias.
Roberto, forza!
Roberto, courage, we're all with you. A huge hug. So, closeness does not necessarily coincide with nearness or similarity or belonging to the same cultural horizon. They know this well in the Focolare community in Algeria, where some members are Christians, others, and they are the majority, are Muslims. we send a thought of spiritual closeness to all of them for the current month of Ramadan. So, a great greeting to all of you through this applause. And then, in the next feature, we go precisely to Algeria, Tlemcen, to listen to an experience that took place last year during Ramadan. Following that, there will be Maria Laure and Antonella, who refer to a talk given by Margaret Karam, president of the Focolare movement, precisely on closeness, and they will tell us about it through some drawings.
Last year, here in Algeria, we, the Youth for Unity of the Focolare movement, thought of doing something during Ramadan for people in need so that we could be close to the weakest. In Tlemcen, a canteen offers the poor a free iftar, the evening meal we Muslims eat after sunset to break the daily fast during Ramadan. We went to the center 2 days in a row to help them.
We were invited to a Sayyim iftar to provide food for homeless and disadvantaged people so that they could break their fast in the right way.
We saw people in need waiting outside for the restaurants to open so that they could break their fast. And knowing that they didn't have the means, we understood that they still made the effort and sacrifices to fast. It was difficult for some, of course, but it really touched us. So we were very happy to serve them and to set the tables and do everything that was needed.
When we saw them eating, we realized just how hungry they were. It was a scene that shocked us. This experience enabled us to be alongside people who are living in difficult situations, to feel their suffering, and to respond to their needs, by also involving the other regulars who came for the meal, but who weren't living in poverty. We too were fasting in those days, and at sunset, instead of eating straight away, we went to serve meals to them.
We had to eat late to be able to serve them. It was worth it, because every day we eat straight away and we eat well. Instead, in those 2 days, it was different.
It was a powerful act of love. I never thought that one day I'd be able to help around 50 homeless people. It really touched my heart and did something for me, and it's an experience I'd like to repeat.
We are grateful to have been chosen as instruments of His mercy, to be the hands that bring help to others. We have discovered the true richness of humanity, one that is not measured in material goods, but in love that is shared in solidarity and in compassion. Thank you.
I'm a self-taught artist, and I heard Margaret's talk a couple of times. At one point, while listening, I took notes and I came up with some ideas for illustrations. So I started taking these 4 points that had inspired me, 4 female figures in black and white. As it happens, we were together with Mary Laure in Myanmar, and Mary Laure came up with this idea of making them into something even more artistic that conveyed a message.
In fact, when Antonella came to Yangon, we had the idea of making these items to remind ourselves of the important words in the theme. So we came up with these cards. One is listening, another, don't economize on time, take on board the other's suffering, and then taking the first step. We liked them and started sending them to our friends.
Well, you've seen how much life there is, even just from this first little journey around the world. But who knows how many stories you will have worldwide. So, write to us by email to the address you can see on the screen. You'll see it in a minute. Collegamento at focolare.org. Write your stories, your experiences, and we'll share them here at the link up. So now, let's take a leap back in time. Let us go to 1961. In that year, Chiara Lubich wrote the words that we are about to hear, preceded by an introduction that we have taken from a text on closeness in Città Nuova, the New City edition. Let's listen.
With which eyes do we look at the world and our fellow travelers in the adventure of life? It is a question of vital importance in an era like ours marked by polarization and disagreements, loneliness, and the distances between the haves and the have-nots, without forgetting the increasingly pervasive presence of artificial intelligence. Yet at the same time, the thirst for harmony and truth grows. Chiara Lubich used to say that everything depends on which eyes we look at people with. If we see with the eyes of the heart, which are the eyes of love, we will not stop at appearances. We will instead grasp the deeper reality that is hidden in every human being. And from the gaze of the heart proceeds action, the quality of the relationship becoming close, being near to the other person. In 1961, Chiara wrote these words.
If you start living the gospel, you'll immediately find yourself on the crest of the mountain, therefore already at the top, already in God. Even though looking out, you'll see that the mountain is not one mountain, but a chain of mountains, and that for you, life is walking along the crest. Every word of God contains both the minimum and the maximum that he can ask of you. So when you read, "Love your neighbour as yourself," you have the law of fraternal love at its highest degree. Your neighbour is another you. You must love them, bearing that in mind. When a neighbour cries, you must cry with them. When they laugh, you must laugh with them. If they lack knowledge, be ignorant with them. If they've lost a parent, make their suffering your own. What has value for you is God, who is both their Father and yours. Don't make excuses. Your neighbours are those who pass by you, be they rich or poor, beautiful or ugly, ignorant or gifted, holy or not, a fellow citizen or a foreigner, whoever. Try to love whoever passes you by in the present moment of your life. You will discover within yourself a new energy and a new strength you did not know you had. This will add flavour to your life. You will find the answers to your 1,000 questions.
This gaze of love that Chiara speaks about, how can it change our daily life, but also relationships among peoples? Why do I say peoples? Well, we received a story that talks about indigenous peoples, those peoples who have been originally present in a given land for centuries, who then, due to colonization, often lost everything: roots, territory, future. So, the charisma of unity, as we have just heard, gives us the opportunity to look at many situations that we live, and in the case of the indigenous peoples, it leads us to have a different gaze on these cultures, and a new dialogue between these peoples can be born. So we set out to We went to Lopiano, near Florence, because there are so many people from different countries, to tell you the story of Agustin and Patricia.
For us, the spirituality is connected to the earth. We are known because of the contribution of Mother Earth. Our characteristic is medicinal herbs, medicinal herb therapies. We, the native peoples, are many and very different. I think that an issue that is missing is that of unity. The Focolare movement has contributed to the unity of these communities. I think the challenge is to unite the communities of the native peoples in the fundamental aspects of life.
Now we are in the little town of Lopiano, very close to Florence. It is an international little town of the Focolare. We only got to know the spirituality of the movement 5 years ago.
In 2022, someone told me that there was a university institute called Sophia, which is based in Lopiano, and that there is another institute, a branch for Latin America and the Caribbean, which we call Sophia ALC. The characteristic of the Sophia studies for Latin America and the Caribbean is that they are studies that are conducted in a communitarian way. The objective is to carry out a project that has an impact on public policy. So, under the guidance of a tutor, another characteristic of Sophia, I enrolled and started to have contact with a community that is called the Comichingon community.
I think it is good to clarify that the Comichingon community in the city of Cordoba dates back to more than 1,000 years before the arrival of the colonizers. Then, after the colonizers arrived, they were driven out of the territory. We didn't know that native peoples with descendants still existed. For us, the culture was extinct, and we taught their pictographs, their cultures, without knowing they were still alive.
At one point, we said, well, we can organize conferences at the Teacher Training Institute where I teach, for the formation of the life of the Comichingon community. The conferences are not only organized by the academic community, but also by the Comichingon community. We always gather together with the fire in the middle, and we make a circle around the fire. For us, our life is circular, wisdom is circular, progress is circular, not in a straight line where someone is excluded, but everyone is included.
A special part is the dialogue. The dialogue takes place around the fire, sharing what everyone feels, without arguing and without hurting one another, without confrontation. We just pull ideas, and from them, an idea emerges. And no one decides without consultation. We began doing this at home too, with our children, trying to dialogue, the four of us, together.
It is true that the native populations are not known because there is no correct information, starting from the teaching in schools. So they asked us to organize a series of meetings for primary school, for secondary school, for higher education. And the government intends to implement these meetings so that all public and private schools in the province study the native peoples, physics, chemistry, mathematics, our worldview. When we concluded our diploma in intercultural studies, we decided to meet whoever could in Altagracia. The welcome was given by the community where the Mariapolis Center is located. We were very happy with the openness of the Mariapolis Center, which said, "We are in the territory of a native people. Let them come to give the welcome, not us." I still get very emotional, because we were masters of the territory once more. Sorry. We also love the fact that there were teachers who said, "I don't know what I'm doing here, because I don't have any ancestry related to the native peoples." And the caciques themselves told them, "You were born here, you are ours. Your grandfather came from Italy, your grandfather came from who knows where. But you were born here. Let your roots join ours." For the community, ancestral roots are very important. They told me, "If you're going to get to know the ancestral roots of the Focolare movement in Lopiano, then please bring them back to us here. You should go there with your family."
And it is finding your own roots, but realizing that your roots are united with the roots of the other. Basically, the love that we have for others is the same love we have for ourselves. The challenge of all humanity and of our city is unity. And it is not only the Comechingon who are marginalized, it is also many other cultures. It is the poor. There are many people who need our hearts to be open to others.
De nuestros corazones abiertos hacia los demás.
I'm really happy to greet Austin and Patricia, who are right here tonight. So thank you for this beautiful witness, so strong and a bit moving. Thank you so much. And with you, we also greet all the families from Lopiano. Where are you? There you go. Got your hands up. And there's also some other citizens of Lopiano. They're here to you too. Great greeting. And we greet the whole of Lopiano who is following us. Ciao, Lopiano. So, as you've seen, I have moved to the stairs because I wanted to greet them, yes. But there is also some interesting movement taking place on stage to prepare the story of another journey. And I take this opportunity with this work to greet and thank all the team that works for the link up. You can imagine from the translations, the writings, the stories written up. A great thank you to everyone that is part of this amazing job. Thank you. So, I was saying that the movement on stage was to prepare the next journey, a journey that took place in January and February in some African countries. We'll tell you all about it. Let's start this way. So, with this music and these beautiful colors, we'll take this journey together with Margaret Karam, the president of the Focolare movement, and Jesus Moran, the co-president of the. So, big clap to them. So, you, Jesus, were there. It took place together with some members of the International Center here, were there. And you, Margaret, instead, you follow the journey from here, linking up many, many moments. So, before we start, I ask you some questions, and you only have 20 seconds to answer to each one of the questions. Jesus, did you get this nostalgia for Africa? No. No, I was filled with energy instead. Not the bad of Africa as it's called in Italian, but the good of Africa. And for you, Margaret, you were not there physically, but your heart was there amongst all these people. What did it mean to you?
My heart was there. I was connected 9 times in different times, but during the night I was waking up and saying, but where am I? In Rocca di Papa or in Africa? It was so strong, even the presence, the physical presence.
Very beautiful. This tells a story, doesn't it? You see also that behind them there's other people, other young people. There's Joseph from Sierra Leone, then Christian and Gildan from Rwanda, and Chelsea from Kenya. They're here during these months here at the center of the movement of the Focolare, but they come from these countries where the journey took place. And some of them participated together with Margaret in the link-ups from here. So we start from Central and West Africa. The first stop was Ivory Coast and the little town of Man. The occasion was to celebrate 50 years since the arrival of the Focolare movement in Ivory Coast. This little citadel, established in 1992, played a crucial role in protecting the population during the conflict that lasted from 2002 to 2006. In the following years, the little town developed, and even today, it is an important reference point. Dominic Digere, who is co-responsible for the little town, will tell us about it. Here in Man, we are actually in the little town. And its design as a little town, even from the very beginning, is for formation for all the 24 countries that make up the zone. We have done a lot of formation courses here, also related to the world of health, the world of journalism, communication, the world of IT. We have also done website creation. So many journalists are also professionals today in Man, thanks also to the presence of the little town. So it has also created a lot of synergy, even with government ministers, even with the world of culture here in Man. So I say that here the little town is and was also essential.
So you have seen what Dominic told us. It really is the strategic presence of the little town for the building of the community. So just think that more than 300 people arrived in Man, representing 15 local communities of the Focolare movement from the whole of Central and West Africa. And this occasion also led to a broad look at the whole of Africa with its beauties and riches, but also its challenges, as witnessed by Jean, who is from the Bamenda Focolare in Cameroon. He will tell us his testimony, but we need to make a premise. You'll hear that Jean refers to some historical events that have conditioned the history of Africa. He speaks about Ouida in Benin, where we find the so-called door of no return, where, and you'll remember, where the African slaves were deported to the Americas. And he will speak about Berlin, the Berlin Conference in Germany, where it took place in 1884-85, and this is where they set the criteria for the repartition of Africa between the dominating European powers at the time.
Good evening, I'm Jean Kiboy, I'm in the Focolare of Bamenda. Before I share something, I wanted to say something about our history. The most difficult part of our history is that of the door of no return in Benin, where all Africans who went to the Americas as slaves, and to see parents and their children going to America without coming back is as painful as death. And then another difficult part of history, like all stories of slavery, like all stories of colonization, was the conference, the Berlin Conference. In this Berlin Conference in Germany, they divided Africa up. They separated the people here in Africa. But with the visit of the presidency of the Focolare movement here in Africa, this was another opportunity for us to turn back to our history as a resurrection, to bring universal fraternity everywhere, to build new people everywhere, wherever we are. Of course, with the cross, but you can also love so as to experience unity.
So Jesus, did you hear Jean's words? And he speaks about these wounds, these sufferings, but also the resurrection and hope. So when you were replying some questions when you were in Africa, you encouraged everyone to be another Jesus. But as Chiara also recommended it to us when she was alive, but you spoke about an African Jesus. What did you mean? Can you explain it to us?
Actually, of the African Jesus, they themselves speak. This story that Jean spoke about, I heard it many times there. And also this gaze towards a Christianity that can be concentrated in this sentence, African Jesus. For me, what I've understood is African Jesus is nothing else but the gospel that touches the African humanity, that touches it deeply. And from there, this Jesus, African Jesus, come from a humanity that is very rich, is wonderful, is limpid, and it needs redemption, of course, like the rest of humanity in the world, but it has some very specific characteristics. What I have really gathered from this, the wholeness. We often speak about that we need to have integral formation, mind, heart, hands. But there also, we've got feet, the speaking, feet to dance, and dance is important. Dance is not just something to have a celebration, it expresses the whole person. Dance is prayer, and this is a bit unique. At least I never seen it so strongly anywhere else. So I believe this is the African Jesus. And then I've also noticed that this humanity is profoundly ecclesial. For the sense of community, the sense of the body is totally Christian and rooted to the mystery of the abandonment of Christ. We can say that this African Jesus is born from embracing Jesus crucified and forsaken, that is so present, that is from the ability that people have to transform suffering, tragedies, the most incredible ones, in love, in hope. This is the African Jesus according to me.
It's wonderful what you say, because in Africa, in the African continent, there are communities, thanks to the presence of the spirituality of unity, and these communities, they work with their hands, their feet, their hearts, as you are saying, together with the local church, with the social and political realities, enculturating themselves in all of this. But I would like you to listen to some testimonies that have been recorded in Man during the meeting with Margaret and Jesus. Let's look at it.
For several years now, the Focolare movement has been a movement that I have greatly appreciated. Why? Because it's very rare for us to perceive a certain dignity in others. Often, when we see the other person, we consider them inferior to us. Whereas the Focolare teaches us to recognize the other person as our equal, above all as our brother or sister. We have lost this notion of brother and sister.
My impressions of the day are that it was a very emotional day, especially during the dialogue with Margaret. We saw that she responded to our concerns. And for us young people, we can say that regarding our difficulties, the dialogue was mainly about social networks. I learned a lesson from the answers that Margaret gave. I thought Chiara started out with a small community, and she was able to do a lot. And today we have the grace of being a big community. I tell myself that we shouldn't focus on the number of people who join, but rather on the actions, the ideals that we try to share with those around us. For me, the word that comes immediately to mind is hope. We have to give ourselves as we are to God, and He does the rest. The Focolare movement can help us to become aware of this reality and to go beyond tribes and the stories of tribalism. The ideal can help us to go beyond that, to appreciate one another and love the other tribe as ourselves. I think that's what the movement can teach us.
I come from Fontaine, and I remember even in the midst of the crisis, Chiara showed love, and you discover this love is still there. And it is because of that love that we feel that the Focolare movement can never die, even in Africa. We know that, yes, there are challenges, but like we listen to everybody's full of joy, and I think the challenge today is me. If I want to live the spirituality I have received a lot, it is for me, not to expect another person, to be able to use the talent, to be able to take initiative. And I think that on a personal note, if I take this initiative and I go ahead with the courage and with faith, I think that we can reach the end of the world, and the Focolare movement in Africa will continue to reach from one generation to another. Thank you very much. It has been a very beautiful day. Ciao.
In Burkina Faso, the Focolare movement is known especially for its involvement in interreligious dialogue, because it is also a recurring theme of the bishops of Burkina Faso, who want this because we are a country with a Muslim majority. So the movement has been involved in this. Various initiatives are underway to encourage this union, this interreligious dialogue. All this is to say that the movement has an impact on society in Burkina Faso, and this is really a positive aspect in our country.
So I actually thank Jesus and Margaret for this opportunity. Africa, Nigeria as a place, we have in our DNA communitarian spirits, and somehow this communitarian spirit is being attacked by the Western world. Just little by little, it's taking it away. But Focolare gives us that reminder that we have to stick to that communitarian spirit, that we have to be there for our brothers, our sisters, our family, even for the extended society. So I think what my country can give to the world is this steadfast love of the other, irrespective of who they are, that ability to be ready to give and die for the other. And also, I think is that ability to smile, even when it's all finished, totally finished. You could see in Nigeria really with no meal, but so happy you would think they are millionaires. But it's a joy of God. It's a joy of being a child of Chiara that pushes us ahead.
So, Margaret, here I am speaking to you. We heard in the last testimony how important the sense of community is, and in one of your talks, you strongly encouraged the movement in Africa to strengthen the bonds that are established in communities. Can you tell us more?
Yes, in fact, in Mariapolis, Victoria, in Ivory Coast, but also in Burundi, I spoke about this because I feel that the community is a great strength in the African continent, because we heard a lot of testimonies and experiences. We saw some of them, but there are volunteers, families, children who told experiences which were so extraordinary as the life of the community. And what struck me is not only the spiritual communion of telling experiences, but also the concrete communion and a communion of goods. There was the Gen Fest, the local Gen Fest, and the whole community worked to raise funds for the young people. But then also with the family situations such as baptisms, weddings, they all help one another. Or if there's someone who's sick in the community, so the whole community helps and supports. So this natural sense of community is really natural. And so it's part of their culture, this sense of the family, of community, but also for the members of the Focolare movement, it goes beyond. And this is what I underlined for them, because this is real beauty. But for us, even more, there is something more in this life of the community, which is this life of mutual love between people, because it is God who unites us beyond the family bonds as being brothers and sisters. But there is this supernatural bond, which is extra. So this mutual love makes us even more a community in the true sense of the word, really being a family of God, a people of God. And so I encourage them that this is the greatest witness that a community can give to the environment where they live, but a university, a school, at home, but it's a witness for the whole world too.
And it's beautiful, because I think that communities built like this, made up like this, they really bring ahead the spirituality and the movement in all countries. And that's what has actually happened in Sierra Leone. That is the second stage of the journey after Ivory Coast. And let's go there now. Sierra Leone is a country with 8 million people, a very young country country, 80% of the population is under 35 years old. One of Africa's bloodiest civil wars was ended just 20 years ago. Today, there are several groups of the movement in various towns and villages. Here we seen some images of that. But there is no permanent Focolare, and life is brought ahead by the local communities, as Margaret was saying just now. And now we have Joseph. He comes from Sierra Leone, and he was physically present in this second stage of the journey. So, what were the most important moments for you in this journey that you took in your own country? Well, it was very beautiful because during this journey, the community has worked together with the Focolarini close to us, knowing that there was no Focolare. They all worked together, and something that was very important was that the relationship with the bishops, with the Episcopal Conference, and we had a meeting with them in Sierra Leone. It was very beautiful, that meeting, because they spoke about reconciliation, that we know it's been really hard, the situation of war there, to speak about peace. How can the church participate, help this situation to bring about reconciliation amongst peoples, amongst everyone? And this was beautiful because the Focolare, the movement, participates precisely within this context to work together with the church, with as a whole community, to see that this division may be bridged that exists in the country. It was beautiful because they work all the time really hard to see that we bring peace and unity everywhere. Another thing that I saw that was also very beautiful, for the first time I noticed that we know that there's a division between North and South, and that's a big difference for us, where young people can't go to the South or from the South cannot go to the North because of political reasons. But something that is the one reality that brings together North and South is the Focolare, because they bring about this peace, which was a situation brought about by politics, and yet the love of the Focolare brings about peace and unity. Another role that the church carries out, when the leaders of the Focolare met, they said, look, peace is not just something for politics, it's not just an objective for politics, but it's something that is necessary for us too. We want the Focolare to work for peace and helps the country, but helps each one of us as well. So it was a very beautiful moment, even though there is not the Focolare movement, the Focolare itself, but the whole community carries out the vision and the life of the charism there through many of the meetings we carry.
Thank you, Joseph. He doesn't say so, but even here, Joseph, he works here for reconciliation and peace. One day you will tell us your story, which is quite vast. We don't have time today, but also from here, you are working for your countries. And there's been meetings at North and South.
And we made this experience of going from South to the North. And some had never gone that from one place to another, because there are problems. So it really took courage. There have been real war situations. Nothing taken for granted, absolutely.
And there were two Saverian missionaries who brought the spirituality of unity to Sierra Leone in the early 1990s. So we'll give you a gift, because we're going to listen to the testimony of Mary Grant, who got to know the movement from one of these missionaries, who is Father Carlo. Let's listen.
I say my name is Mary Grant from Sierra Leone, Kabbalah, Kwenadugu to be specific, where I know of this Focolare movement since 2000 through Father Carlo. I thought without parents in this family, in this world, I'm alone. But through the help of the Focolare movement and Father Carlo guidance, he said, Mary, you are not alone. As long the tabernacle is in the church, as Chiara said, you have so many people. So that gives me the strength. That gives me the strength to be part of this movement. My stay here for the past 3 days has also refreshed my mind to start again and also to meet others and to be part of this and put the word of life into practice in helping others outside.
I'm not sure if you can see it at home, but it's beautiful here to see that every time Margaret Jesus sort of cross eyes with people they've met here and there, you can see that they participate in a very effective manner. This is very beautiful, very beautiful. Because it's a sign that we're at home all together. Truly a family that unites, that comes together. Now, let's go to the next stage of the journey after Sierra Leone, Kenya. Here we can see some pictures of the Mariapolis Piero, the little town of the Focolare movement, half an hour from Nairobi. There are many activities that have developed in these years. The nursery and primary school, in whose educational curriculum are present the elements of the spirituality of unity. Today it welcomes 120 children. Then there's a Center for Inculturation, where the charism of unity is deepened in dialogue with African cultures. And this is Jesus and the picture. Then there is a program for young people who want to have a social and community experience based on unity. In this area of Africa, the Focolares are present in 24 countries, and among these countries is Uganda, where we received the testimony of Regina of Kenyan origin, who is in Focolare in Kampala. Let's watch this.
Thank you for the visit to our continent. One of the impacts it has had is to encourage us, especially the men and women Focolarini, to go ahead in our vocation. To go ahead having hope in us and having hope among us. Because, as we know, with so many challenges in this continent and with so few Focolares here and so many countries to follow, we sometimes get discouraged or do not really see any results. But in this hope, in this life given to God, we have seen how many fruits there are on the African continent. A second impact seems to me that after this visit, a new stage begins in our mission in Africa. I feel that God is calling us to be an African Jesus, which means being rooted in God. Being engrafted in God with our expressions and our cultures, our customs, so that we can purify, enlighten, and give this to the church, to the world, as a gift. Third point, this visit brought us all together as a continent because of the fact that the visit was made from Sierra Leone to Burundi. And so, in following, in gathering together, we got to know each other more, because each one brought out the best of the ideal that they have in themselves, of their history, their difficulties, and their fruits. And knowing each other more, we love each other more, and we pray for each other. And since we are a united Africa, this can be of great light to some institutions working in Africa.
And as Regina said, in this page of so rich. You arrived in another area. The place is called the Land of 1,000 Hills, and that's Rwanda. Here, the spirituality of unity arrived in the 80s, thanks to some religious, but it spread after the terrible crisis of 1994, when many families who had been forced to flee had returned. These families had met the movement in other countries. Among them were also Emeth and Dieudonné Gatsinga, who are now responsible for the community of the movement in Rwanda, where there is no permanent Focolare. Let's listen to their testimony. We came as Chiara's children. There was no Focolare. So for 26 years, we have tried to live this mutual love. We trusted in God's love. And there, today, I understood what He did because of our yes. In fact, I understood that I have to say yes, and then He does the rest. God calls me if I say yes, and the rest is His work. Just say yes. So God is providence for us, and as providence for us, we have experienced it many times, every day. And there we can say that the whole community was God's providence.
What helped us to understand, what helped us to stand on our own 2 feet and have peace was to see Jesus in everyone, over and above everything that's been said, beyond what we've experienced. It's helped us to love, to overcome prejudice. For me, if all Rwandans could see each neighbor as Jesus, beyond all the divisions there have been, that would be an answer, a contribution to peace, to unity, to the church too. Thank you. Jesus, I go back to you because these words, what is behind these words, yes, we have to know all that is behind these words is so strong. They also make us see the gospel and the spirituality of unity. In the midst of darkness, they are able to bring about a path, generate light and hope. And you spoke about Africa as the continent of hope. Could you tell us more about this?
I've lived in America for 27 years. There too, they say continent of hope, and yet it is true that Africa is the continent of hope. I've seen hope in the experience of people. They spoke, I saw it in them. As we know, hope comes forth from desperation. As St. Paul says, it's a hope that does not let us down because it comes from a pain, a desolation. In fact, in the past, you could see hope as this child of the night. Hope that allows you to forgive even those who kill your own family. It gives you strength to believe. It's a profound experience of faith. Obviously, no doubt, the African continent lives of this hope and grows in hope. I would like to read a poem from a poet from Congo. I think he says he does this really beautiful because I read it to them as there was a new war being started right there in Congo, and Henry Bukulu says, "Tomorrow, hope, and in the sky that mourns, I can see its eyes, peaceful and sweet. Like a gentle touch, I listen to its voice, pure and beautiful, like a night sky filled with stars. I read its message, solemn and noble, like a Greek legend. Oh, divine hope! And in the desperate sobbing of the wind, we can glimpse the outline of the first words of the most beautiful poem of love. And tomorrow, there will be hope.
And so with this hope, we reach the last stage of this trip, which is Burundi. Here the movement is present in all 8 dioceses of the country, in 300 parishes and in schools. The spirituality of the Focolare arrived in 1962, but it was in the 1980s and 90s, during the violence that devastated this region, that the movement saw its greatest development. During the meeting, there were several testimonies during the meeting that brought together more than 3,000 people from all over the country and from Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Madagascar, Zambia, and Tanzania. So we're going to listen to one of these testimonies from the community of the Diocese of Bubanza.
We were at the Ntamba Parish Finance Committee meeting. The parish priest told us that there was a problem with a house that was falling into ruin, and also the meeting hall. He asked each of those present if in the movement or group they represented, there was a chance to help out in any possible way.
We got together and exchanged ideas. And then together, in unity, we decided to give this help, because for us, it was also about putting into practice the theme of the year, which said, we are called and we are sent. We were able to transport 5 lorries of stones and 6 lorries of sand, because there were so many of us responding to the call for help. In all, there were 300 of us from different villages. The parish priest thanked us very much, because we had done a considerable amount of work. What made us so happy was what he said later: I see that you live the word.
So beautiful, because the witness of these people, of these communities, allow us to discover and rediscover constantly all the beauties, the riches of the African continent. So now I would like to ask Margaret, at the end of this journey, in which we discovered or rediscovered some of the many riches of this continent, what do you think Africa, which live the spirituality of unity, have to give to the whole world today?
It's not an easy question, but I think that this journey has really remained in our hearts, because many of them have defined that it's been a historical trip, because we were able to enjoy some of those stages. But in my eyes, even if I just saw them through the screen, I see their faces, their smiles, their decisions. But what I was thinking is what Chiara saw in this continent. Chiara saw the African continent as the continent of evangelization. And the word of life, we can say the word of life of this continent is that phrase of the gospel, fire I've brought on this earth, and how I would like that it is still aflame. And so I was thinking, what the African continent, what can they tell all of us today? And through the many experiences and testimonies that have been told, even in the midst of so much drama, conflicts, not all of that has come out. All these things that these people are living, also the tragedies that they're going through, but you see the strength of living the gospel that really, really struck me, the witness of living the gospel with radicalness. And I think they can teach us a lot. And the other thing, and we have seen it a bit through the dances, through the liturgies, how they live their Christian faith enculturated through their customs, habits, traditions, and a culture, and the gospel is lived with their culture, with their dances, with their means, their ways of living. Faith doesn't come less. It's not less applying the gospel. It reinforces them and it attracts as well. And this is a great lesson that we can all learn, how to inculturate our faith and the charism of unity, how to inculturate it, truly inculturate it in all our cultures. And so then, yes, we can bring more fruit. And what else? There's so many things that are in my heart, but just to tell you one more thing, that I was really struck by the joy that these people transmit. In their faces, there's just joy that goes beyond, but even a vitality, a great vitality of life, but also the way of speaking has really struck me. They are really convinced. Now, I'm just saying it in a positive way, but when they speak, they are really convinced about what they say. It's really beautiful also to transmit and witness our life, our spiritual life, our life of the gospel with conviction and without fear, to have courage to transmit the gospel. And really, we saw this through many witnesses in the community, that they can really teach this to us. And one last thing that struck me a lot is the sense of welcome. I really see the community traveled 8 hours just to go and welcome Jesus and some of our counselors, a small group who went there. Joseph was also present. He's a witness that 8 hours they traveled to get there and 8 hours to go back home, to be there just half an hour to welcome this group that was arriving. Not only in Sierra Leone, but in each stage. And I really thought this is what's written in the scriptures: respect to the guest, to the person who comes and welcomes you and visits you, how you must welcome them. You give everything you have, even what you don't have, you try to have it. And so I think they have this as their culture. It's something spontaneous and it must be reinforced even there. But it's also something to be learned. This hospitality, because you think about the person, how important the person is, and the dignity of each person that must be respected in all, fully, completely. And so the African continent has a lot to give us.
It's moving. There's so much hope. This journey, we will carry it within us. We've always journeyed in the cars, in the 2 cars that the bishops themselves have made available for us. And this has never happened to me before, never.
And also all the bishops did there, Jesus was telling me. They had welcome receptions to offer suppers and lunch and meals, to be with them all these hours together of meetings, of traveling.
To give witness to a communion.
Yes, communion with the church, with the community who lives all of this. And so there's a lot to learn. And we take advantage also to thank all those we met, all those we didn't meet, but also to say, also this whole the whole world is thinking of them, especially those countries where there's a lot of conflict, where there's injustice, and we pray for them, but we go ahead together with a lot of hope.
There was no better way to conclude this journey, this amazing journey, and this thank you through clapping reaches all of you and wants to give you all in Africa courage, love, and we touched, moved, and we reached the end of this link up. So, before we finish off, I just say two things. As always, you can rewatch the link up in full or just some of the features. If you link up to the YouTube channel of the movement in various languages. Then we look forward to seeing you at the next link up on Saturday, the 28th of June 2025, 6 p.m. Italian time. Before we conclude, I would like to thank you all. So if we stand up, and here at the center, we can send a greeting to everyone, because Chiara was saying to thank all the communities of the movement, the communities in Africa. I would like to thank, first of all the communities in the world who have contributed also to the early part of the journey. They're sending us their stories, and thank you so much. A special thanks to the communities of the African continent that have worked so hard to build this link up. So again, to all of you, all our heart, our prayers, our closeness and affection and love. And we also would like to greet you in the languages that have characterized the languages here. And they themselves will do it because they know the language. So here we are.
Perfetto.
And this I can say myself. Goodbye. And au revoir. Bye-bye to everyone.